We're late, but we're here. Let's go. Sorry about that. I made sure the sound was alright this time.
商店街の一角にある店に入ると、レンジ君のお母さんは私に振り返った。
千尋ちゃん、タバコ吸う？
タバコ
Hey,
吸わないみ
Beatrice.
たいなので禁煙席で。
寄ってきたウェイターさんに V サインした彼女に連れて行かれ、あっという間に座席に押し込められてしまう。そこでようやく私は5分遅れで苦悩できた。
Hey.
穏やかな日常はどこに行ってしまったのか。
どうしたの？
いえ、何でもありません。半ば諦めの気持ちでつぶやく。だけどちょっと嬉しかった。こういう風に大人の人にご飯に連れてきてもらうのはなんだか懐かしい感じがする。レンジ君のお母さんがこんなだから、きっとレンジ君も優しいんだなってそう思う。
Hey, oddly manifested. How's it going?
ご飯はおすすめのランチでいいよね。ケーキも適当ね。
Yes, they're fine. I don't know what was wrong yesterday. They, I don't know, needed a magical touch or something. Yeah, it's fine. I can hear it. I guess you also can hear the game, right? Because in OBS it shows that the sound is there, so hope everything is alright. It would have been sad if my headphones weren't fine because, like I said, I just use them for streaming. Otherwise, they're just sitting in the corner of my desk. Like, I didn't do anything to them. Why would they break? Why would they leave me behind? All good. Great.
お任せします。
飲み物は紅茶とコーヒーがあるけど、千尋ちゃんは炭酸とかオレンジジュースの方がいい？
紅茶で。
ほいほい。
Hoi hoi. I've never heard
不
that.
思議なうなずきを残しつつ、彼女は手早く注文を済ませると、卓上の砂糖や胡椒の入れ物を漁り出した。何してるんですか？
別に何も？
そうなんですか。なんだかそういう人なのだと、そろそろ納得できるようになっていた。
うん。やっぱり女の子も欲しかったわね。レンジも料理に興味はあるみたいだけど、お菓子とか甘いものは適当なのよね。
しみじみとつぶやく。はあ、この人はやっぱりお姉さんじゃないんだなという雰囲気。言ったら大変なことになりそうなので言わないけど。
さて、それじゃあそのレンジの話でもしましょ
Hey
うか。
Clinton, how are you?
レンジ君の話ですか？
だってこの2人で話す話題といったらレンジのことでしょ。子供というのは親に話題を提供するのもお仕事なのよ。
はあ。
とりあえずレンジには恋人はいないわ。
そうみたいですね。
母親としてはちょっと悲しいわよね。
レンジ君は人気があると思いますが。
そうかにゃ。
にゃ本当に優しいです。
いい人が夫になるとは限らないのよね。
はあ。
ところでレンジの初恋とか知りたい？
はい、いえ、それはち ちょっと気になります。
Oh.
うんうん。それじゃあ交換条件といきましょう。千尋ちゃんの初恋はどんな人だった？
意表をつく攻撃にたじろいてしまう。言わないといけないんですか？
女の子同士なんだから大丈夫よ。レンジには絶対に言わないし。
なんだか完全にペースを奪われていた。お姉ちゃんと話してるみたいだ。どうしよう。でももう終わったことだし、レンジ君のお母さんは知り得ない人だからいいかなと。なんだかこれで区切りがつくかもしれないと思った。私の初恋の相手は近所のお兄さんでした。
ほうほう。
絵がうまくて、いつも姉と一緒に遊んでいるのを私は遠くから見ていただけなんですが、それで終わってしまって、本当にただそれだけのことで、そこで自分でも驚く発見をした。あの人の顔をうまく思い出せない。なんだか全てがおぼろげで、記憶はこういう風に消えていくものなのだと忘れられる怖さを思い出してしまう。
なるほどね。いいなあ。そういう儚さみたいなのが似合うというか、初々しいというのは。それじゃあレンジの方だけど、あの子の初恋の相手はいとこなの。
Really now?
私のお姉さんの子供でみずきって言うんだけど。
みずき？
どうしたの？
いえ、私は首を振る。みずきという名前がどれだけ珍しいかわからなかったが、まさか姉を慕っていたあの子ではないだろう。そんな偶然はないはずだ。レンジ君のお母さんもそれで納得したのか、あっさりと引き下がって話を続けた。
レンジとみずきちゃんは仲が良くてね、すっごい子供の頃だけど結婚するんだって2人でみんなを困らせてね。うん、しまった。
どうしました？
ちょっとね。
急に大人びた雰囲気に私は不安になる。聞かない方がいいのでしょうか？
そう言われるとそうかもしれないけど、こっちだけ話さないのはずるいよね。レンジの初恋はね、みずきちゃんがいなくなっちゃったから無理やり終わってしまったの。
いなくなった？
死んじゃったんだ。
What the fuck? Wait, what?
さりげない言葉は、しかし驚くほど私を捉えた。
Your recognition honors me.
Oh, Bebe, thank you for the resub for the 6 months. Oh my god. Hell yes. In 2 months it will have been 4 years since I got affiliate. Oh my god. Okay, let's not think about that. It still feels like yesterday. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. But what is she doing? Mizuki's alive. What?
レンジが友達を作れなくなったのはその時からだろうなって思うんだ。ごめんね。ただ千尋ちゃんの好みを確かめたかっただけなんだけど、遠回りしすぎてお姉さん自爆しちゃった。
いえ、いいんです。口にしつつ頭は全然違うことを考えていた。私の前にレン ンジ君の前から消えてしまった子がいるのだ。ドキドキする。ざわざわする。チクチクする。忘れられず、ずっと消えても残っている。
ところでこれは答えたくなかったらいいんだけど。
唐突にレンジ君のお母さんが真剣な顔をした。何でしょうか。私は慌てて心を落ち着ける。どんなことを聞かれてもうまく対処しなくてはいけない。レンジ君のお母さんは一瞬目をそらしてから、
その眼帯を外すとビームとか出るの？
And so she was at the station murmuring,
ビームなんて出ません。レンジ君、遊ぼう。
She spoke to me with a smile across her face. Well, I couldn't actually see her full expression, but I knew she was smiling. All I could hear was her childish voice, which sounded like a ringing bell. I knew it was a dream, but I refused to wake up. I was bound to this ending world.
痛いよ。
She suddenly spoke up.
仲良くなっちゃダメだよ。お別れは痛いよ。とっても痛いよ。歯医者さんみたいに痛くて怖いよ。私だけがいればいいでしょ？
I suppose so. However, I couldn't disregard the child who looked like she was about to burst into tears. It was the same attitude that caused me to hurt Chihiro. But I'm an idiot, so...
優しいんだよ。
And just like that, I comforted myself within my own dream. Oh? Homeroom ended and I took my usual route towards the exit. That was when I realized I was going the wrong way. Not good, not good. I went back the way I came. I surveyed the library. Lots of people were preparing for the upcoming tests, but I was able to spot Chihiro right away. It seemed only the area around her was open. Well, she'd probably stand out regardless. Some books were beside her laptop, which had all of her focus. As I was reminded of her doll-like demeanor, she suddenly started typing. She was gaining attention from the people around her, but she didn't notice. Occasionally she stopped and glared at the screen in deep thought. Her concentration was amazing. She normally disliked places with many people. Hey, Chihiro, it's me, Renji. I gave her my name ahead of time and sat in front of her.
こんにちは。
We locked eyes. There was a time lag.
授業が終わったのですね。
Yeah, there are lots of people around, so be careful, okay? I feigned casualness and brought my finger to my mouth. She must have barely realized that we were surrounded by other students. She reverted to her usual timid expression and posture. When did you arrive?
お昼休みの頃から、そのくらいが一番目立たないと思ったので。
Did you have a hard time getting in?
はい。ちょっとですが、誰かに話しかけられたら困るなって。
Oh, I see, sorry.
いえ、いいんです。とても参考になりましたから。
A reference? I knew she was just saying that so I wouldn't worry, but I was relieved everything turned out alright. Well then, how much have you written? We had fallen a day behind getting her uniform after all. She shook her head and her expression sunk.
思ったより全然進んでませんでした。多分、全体の3割くらい。
30% is quite a chunk of it, like what the hell? Could I take a look? I pointed at her laptop. After some hesitation, she gave it to me.
ある日、彼女は倉庫の中で植物の種を見つけた。屋敷の庭に畑を作ることにした。食料が足りなかったわけではない。 彼女が寿命で死ぬまでに1日10食で頑張っても保存食はなくならないだろう。それはただ種の袋に映っているイチゴという赤い実が綺麗だったから。それにやらなくてはいけないことは多かったが、やるべきことはなかったから。園芸関連の本を片手に土をいじった。最初は芽が出ないか、出てもすぐ枯れてしまった。何度か試してみたが、結果は変わらなかった。きちんと本を読み返す。やがて気候がずれていることを知った。おそらく地域も問題なのだろう。倉庫から温度と湿度を測れる道具を、本棚から気候と地域の関係を一覧にした本を探し出した。5回目の挑戦からは芽を出すことまではできるようになった。しかしうまく実がつくまで育てることができなかった。やがて種そのものがなくなってしまった。諦めるしかなかった。赤い実を直に見ることはできなかったが、少女は植物を見ているうちに季節や日数という概念をそうやって一つずつ何かを理解した。理解するということを理解した。あくる日は海辺で火を起こしてみた。役に立たない本の中にこういう島に流れ着いてしまったという話があって、のろしというものをあげるエピソードがあったからだ。真っ青な空に白い筋が立ち上る。これは雲と同じものなんだろうかと顔を突っ込んだら、目と喉の奥が
Hey
ひどく
Fury!
痛かった。
How are you? How are the games going?
慌てて離れると遠くからそれを眺めた。やがて燃え尽きた。それだけだった。なるほど。役に立たないなと理解した。
Oh, oh man. Sorry to hear about your back. Oh, it feels bad. Basic Wednesday. Oh, wish you good luck with the games. Not much else I can do about your back other than, you know, send some positive vibes, but I doubt that's gonna fix it. I suppose the vodka's gonna be more effective in that area. Oh. I see. I finished the last paragraph and returned to her laptop. It didn't seem to have progressed any further than I knew about. It was still at the stage of the lead girl's introduction. But it's very cute.
かわいい。
Yeah, this girl is unexpectedly charming.
かわいいですか。
Is she gonna take that as something negative? I meant it as praise, but she didn't seem very happy. She had stopped moving just like she was before I arrived.
やっぱり書き直そうかな。
Oh, sorry. Which part?
ここまで全部です。
Temper this. Huh? That was too abrupt of a decision, so I was taken aback. Everything up to this point would be more writing than I could plainly comprehend. Wait a second. Why do you need to rewrite it?
女の子がかわいいと言われてしまったので。
She acted like I was criticizing her, although that clearly wasn't my intention. Is that so bad?
彼女はまだこの段階ではそういう記号でくくられてはいけないかなと。
It was getting more and more confusing. She said I couldn't allow her to hit the proverbial writer's block. Well, haven't you been unable to move forward due to rewriting it all the time? I recalled her figure of 30 or 60 times. If she restarted again, it really would never end.
そういう話ですが。
She replied awkwardly. Maybe she realized it herself. Then it's fine. Besides, this short episode is interesting.
違います、レンジ君。
She simply denied it.
それがそうとしか読んでもらえないなら意味がないんです。
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, oddly manifested. If it's bothering you for like an extended period of time, you shouldn't just let it be, Fury. Go see someone. Maybe they can help you. I wanted to give an opinion of some sort, but sorry, I guess I don't know. I gave in docilely. Docile. Wow, I've never read this as an adverb. It's weird to me. Let's move on. We probably looked at it differently. She went silent as though collecting her thoughts, then nodded. Oh, almost once a month. Okay, well that's good, good.
この女の子はもっとずれてるはずなんです。ただ可愛いとか微笑ましいとか、そう読まれてしまうということは女の子の存在を書ききれてないんです。
Alright, well I hope they can help you. I don't want you in pain. Nobody deserves to be in pain.
冗談のような出来事を彼女が真面目に取り組んでいることに不安とか、違和感を感じるようでないといけなくて、単純に可愛いとか面白いとだけしか言われないのは。
Oh. After her explanation, I gradually agreed. If she put it that way, I got a feeling that may be right. But that made me think, who was correct? Or rather, what was correct?
レンジ君、
She smiled at me as I thought it over.
ありがとうございます。
I didn't know her motive for thanking me, so I just stared back. However, she was looking down at her screen. There was some fuzzy feeling in my chest. Oh no. Oh man. Please take it easy and take care of yourself, alright? Try not to sit too much. Sit properly. Get a little bit of stretching in. I don't know what to say. Maybe Madcast can give you more advice on that part, because he knows more than me. My only struggles with my back have been due to sitting down too much, and that was fixed when I got the ability to switch my setup to a standing one. So whenever I feel like I've been sitting too much, I just switch to that, and it works like a charm. But at the same time, I don't actually have any back problems. It was just the sitting. So unfortunately, I have very little advice to give on the topic. Chihiro understood things that I wasn't able to. She really was different. He's playing. He's around, he's playing. He's probably not paying attention to chat. Not sure if he's hearing me right now. I'm too young to have back problems yet. Well, thank you. She really was different. I was jealous of people with talent or people who had strong objectives. Of course, talent and great effort didn't necessarily guarantee success. Was that what Himura-san was saying? He means Madcats. Yo, Fury says hi. But people with talent definitely had a higher probability of succeeding. And people with an objective were also stronger than those without one. Okay, good luck in your game, Fury. Would that really be an excuse and not just a deception? I fully realize the unfairness of this world. The days passed by calmly for some time after that. Going to the library after 4th period became a daily routine. Chihiro snuck into school during the hustle and bustle of lunch period so we could eat together. We met up again after school and talked about what we did that day, and chatted about other trifling things. Little by little, the story grew. It was just like making a snowman. Yeah. We went home together before sunset. Walking to the park or along the beach was common after we simmered down from writing. She often told me stories about her big sister that she exchanged emails with. The sister seemed troubled lately, and though she tried, Chihiro wasn't able to encourage her very well. She could comprehend the information she was given, but couldn't understand her feelings quite as easily. Even so, she wanted to become her sister's strength in her own way.
お姉ちゃんが学校の先輩に告白されたそうなんですが、その返事に困ってるらしくて。
I see. She really had no reason to come to me for love advice, but I guess there wasn't anyone else she could go to. Kimura-san was, well, out of the question. So it's not just a question of simply liking or disliking him. Painful as it may be, it would be better to be rejected outright if the other person didn't like you. But from what I heard, her sister was far from indecisive.
お姉ちゃんは多分私のことを気にしてるんです。
Worried about you?
そうですね。ちょっと説明しないとわからないですよね。
She inclined her head childishly. Was she being pulled into her story about her sister? She looked so cheerful, it was like she was a different person.
子供の頃、4年前の事故よりも、私たちには幼なじみのお兄さんがいました。私たち3人はとても仲のいい、それこそ本当の兄弟みたいな関係だったんです。
She looked far off, and a smile arose to her face.
だけど、お姉ちゃんの行為は違いました。兄弟としてではなく、一人の女性としてお兄さんのことが好きだったんです。私もとてもお似合いな二人だなって思ってました。でも、お兄さんに去年恋人ができたんです。
I looked at her. She was still smiling, but I sensed a hint of loneliness in her voice.
お姉ちゃんはずっとお兄さんと一緒にいたのに、その女性よりも先に告白することができなかったんです。ずっと一緒にいたのにできなかった。あの交通事故が起きてしまったから。
Ah. I didn't mean to, but that murmur made its way out. Before I knew it, I was looking up at the sky.
あの事故は私だけではなく、お姉ちゃんの時間も止めてしまったんです。私たちは双子で、お姉ちゃんはとても優しいから、私を置いていくことができなかった。もちろん、いつかは、とは思っていたでしょう。でも、それは間に合わなかった。お姉ちゃんは好きだという気持ちを秘めたまま、それからもお兄さんと兄弟であるかのように振る舞っていたんです。そして私がすごいって憧れていたバスケットボールに打ち込むようになって、決して心変わりを許すことはなかった。
She's a kind person. There was no need for her to say any more. Her sister did it to protect the place Chihiro could return to. It was in order to protect the world Chihiro knew. Her sister resolved to stand still and in exchange lost the person she loved. She was a very kind, strong, but sorrowful person.
はい。私の自慢のお姉ちゃんです。
She was smiling triumphantly. I would have never imagined her doing so usually. But I don't think she was that honest with herself. Well, you know, it crossed my mind, so I thought I'd speak frankly. If not for her sister's strength, I probably wouldn't be here talking with Chihiro like this. Chihiro wouldn't have opened up like she has. In that sense, I really owed her sister. For that reason, I thought it would be good if I could give a little something back. I've never really had friends. Naturally, I also haven't had any girlfriends. I also don't understand the sense of distance when talking to people, and I probably don't notice when I mess up. But for those reasons, I want to hold people's feelings dear.
はい。
She responded sincerely to my roundabout speech. I honestly don't know how strong a connection you three had with each other, but if your sister was afraid of telling him how she felt, wouldn't it be because she's thinking of that guy who confessed to her just as dearly? My intuition was poor, but her reaction told me I was right to some extent. I kept talking to back up what I was saying. She probably didn't expect such an honest confession from him. It was something she couldn't do, after all. Her gaze wandered a little as she thought over what I said. If everything happened all at once like that, she wouldn't be able to tell what was most important to her anymore. But I wonder, isn't she the type who will take a chance to move forward?
そうかもしれません。
Yeah. Hadn't I veered off from her original question? She had asked what sort of answer she should give her sister. Well, I don't really know what would be the correct answer. But wouldn't it be okay to just believe in her?
私が信じれば
Well, she's that good of a sister, so I'm sure she'll realize it herself. Even if she doesn't, everyone seems to like her, so someone will help her out. It was depressing to think I wasn't blessed with such a partner.
そうですね。お姉ちゃんのことを私が一番に信じてあげなきゃいけなかったんですよね。私はかっこいいお姉ちゃんが好きだから。そう素直に伝えようと思います。
At this point, much like a scolded child, her pretty smile vanished.
ダメな妹で申し訳ないですね。私は。
町ってのはでっかい家だと言ったやつがいる。
It was yet another day. We ended up meeting Kuze-san as I went to drop off Chihiro. He came to see Himura-san, who apparently was out at the moment. So we just talked amongst ourselves as we waited.
何の話ですか
She seemed carefree this particular day.
住宅街は個人の部屋で、商店街は台所。他にも居間とか水回りとかいろいろ。そういうのを動線的に考慮していくと、町は大きな家と変わらないって話。
So he arranged the most commonly used places together into easy-to-find locations, like going through a sequence of related tasks. Basically, when people plan to travel, they try to take the shortest route possible. They follow the guideline that tries to prevent a pointless round trip. I was a little happy for the admiration.
じゃあそこに住んでいる人はでっかい家族なんですね。
Dango, dango. No, that's a different story.
それじゃあ俺のことをお兄ちゃんって呼んでいいよ。
Chihiro, don't take him seriously.
ま、それは冗談だけどさ。この大きな家も好かれるといいね。
Some mysterious feeling mingled in his voice. Chihiro and I exchanged looks. She probably got the same impression.
みんながこの町を好きだと言ってくれれば、亡くなってしまった音羽も浮かばれるだろう。
His expression and tone were the same as usual, but he had experienced that earthquake. The city was then realized. It was an imitation trying to become authentic.
私は好きですよ。
She spoke quietly.
舞台は人のためにあるし、人は舞台のためにある。どちらが欠けても成り立ちません。
小説の観点からの捉え方かな。いや、人がいないと音羽が成立しないってのは確かにそうだよな。
He nodded to himself. Putting it that way made sense. Who would the lead be? I asked abruptly. Well, if this is a stage, there should be some vital character. There had to be someone appropriate for that role in this city. I was feeling a bit egotistical and considered either Chihiro or myself. But she didn't seem quite right for it. Then again, neither did I.
それなら二人のためかな。
He had a carefree smile. I thought he was teasing us for a second, but his gaze told me otherwise.
一人は彼女、もう一人があいつ。
あいつ？
秘密。
He brushed over her question with a smile. Then, would everyone else be supporting characters?
いいよ。最初に千尋ちゃんがどっちも大切だって言っただろ。いくらバイオリンの腕が良くたって一人じゃオーケストラはできないってことさ。
He happily told us that from a musician's point of view. There was a person who said this city was like a huge house. This world seemed capable of taking many forms. The days passed by calmly, one by one. It felt like nothing had changed. There wasn't anything to cause that change. Life was like a videotape being rewound and re-recorded. This extraordinary occurrence was her everyday life.
また明日。
They were piling up high, like daubs of white snow on the red-stained city. Only my feelings for Chihiro were piling up. No. About a month had passed since I first met Chihiro. Next week is the deadline for the career survey, huh? I leaned back in my chair and sighed. I'd completely forgotten about it, but class today reminded me that the deadline was fast approaching.
進路希望？
I have to write down what I want to do in the future on a piece of paper and submit it.
そんなものがあるんですか？
She lifted her face from her laptop. I nodded with superficial calmness. The survey was what prompted me to start writing the novel with her in the first place, but there was no way she could remember that. There were many instances lately where Chihiro had forgotten small details, though she remembered the basics of the things that happened. For the past few days, I'd had to re-explain things far more often. What should I do? I lay down on the desk and
なり
groaned.
たいものになればいいと思いますけど。
If I knew what that was, I wouldn't be having such a hard time. I replied with an answer I had already given before. How many people in the world could clearly say what they wanted to be, and how many of them could actually make it happen? I considered being a novelist, but after seeing Chihiro's talented work, I lost all confidence in that.
何もないんですか？
She said that like it was unexpected. I don't really have any special talents.
レンジ君はいろいろできるじゃないですか。
Like what?
ご飯は美味しいですし、英語の本が読めるそうですし、親切です。
Well, I'll think it over some more. I grinned and sat up. How about you? Are you making any progress?
少しですが。
She seemed a little more motivated than before, but her expression was still murky. As her helper, I took a look at her screen. It seemed she made it to around the middle of the story. The last girl alive in the world had already begun to obtain complete intelligence. Ooh.
人間、役に立つ本も役に立たない本も、書いてあることを集約するとすべてが人間の話だった。その中でも彼女は役に立たない本に書いてある話が気になった。人間は一人では生きていけない。そう書いてある本がいくつもあったからだ。実際にはそう書いていなくても、人のつながりが大切だと説いている話が多かった。
Oh, thank you, Beatrice. Yes, I'm drinking. Appreciated. Oh. Look at us talking like old people.
しかし、少女は一人だった。一人でも生きていた。笑うこと、泣くこと、大切だと言われることが必要ではなかった。寂しさすらない。 そういった概念はない。完結していた。何が違うのだろうか。自分は人間という種として間違ったことをしているのだろうか。唯一人類史において初めて到達しうる平均的な人間が自分だ。人類の歴史は二人の人間から始まってしまったから。総計1名における統計からの平均は完全に自己と同一である。何をしても正しい。
Well, yeah, sure, that prevents bad episodes happening. And also there's this thing like if you do have to lift something, the way you lift it is important. Like don't keep your legs straight and bend down and then lift it up. Just bend your knees as well. Like go completely towards the ground, pick the thing up and then get up yourself, right? Because otherwise you put extreme pressure on your lower back. But weren't there like some physical exercises to do if your back hurts? I know you recommended some to me at some point and I did them and they were fine, but right now my memory is really murky on that.
そして同時に全てが間違っているのかもしれなかった。彼女は絵を描き始めた。書物、楽器、絵画。それらしきものの中で一番自分が人間を作り出すことができそうな道具を手にしただけだ。
That is true, but I was mostly thinking about oddly manifested's question, like back pain relief wisdom maybe in general, not necessarily for hernia, because like yeah, if it can't help it, can't help it.
しばらくは絵を描く術を教えてくれる本を探し、読み、必要な道具を倉庫や城から集めてくることで時間が過ぎた。いざ描き始めたらうまくいかなかった。本に書いてある通りにはいかなかった。才能というものがないようだ。何度も飽きた。別に飽きてもよかった。季節が一つ変わる頃には飽きていることに飽きるからだ。
Alright. Well, I hope that helps out the manifested. I already said what mine was. But then again, my only issue with my back was just from sitting, so the solution is, first of all, don't sit all the time. Make it possible to work standing, maybe. And there are some kind of stretches that you could do to just realign things. Probably if you Google it, you'll find something. I'm not at all apt to instruct exactly how to do that, but these two things help me. Nerve pinching, yeah, that doesn't sound nice.
やがて絵が描けるようになった。大別すると写実的な風景画というものが自分に向いていることを知った。あるものをただあるように描けばいいだけだからだろう。やはりそこにないもの。人間を描くのは大変かもしれないなと思った。
Well, that doesn't sound fun at all. I see. I nodded after I read the overview. It was just as she had said. As time passed, it would only get harder to write. She was nearly at the heart of her story, but her pace had slowed. Is there anything you're concerned about?
女の子が人間を理解しようとして絵を描くのってどうかなと。
Which means we're back at another fundamental point of the story. I spoke in a grumbly voice, as was expected. We had to make lots of revisions up to this point, but this part could make or break the story. It will take too much time to go back and revise after this point.
そうですね。
Her unimpressed reply made me raise my head. She was looking into the distance. She might have been sad, but I had no intention of taking back what I said. We simply didn't have time. However, my goal was to be her guardrail until she finished her story, so that she wouldn't lose her footing on her path, so that she wouldn't fall from a cliff. But there had been many times when I thought that things had to be accepted as they are.
また寒くなってきましたね。
Chihiro took a breath and gazed at the sky. Yeah, it'll probably get even colder. Ottawa was a relatively warm city, but they said it might actually snow this year. That would be the first time since I moved here. School will end soon as well.
そうなんですか？
It's almost winter vacation. That's why the deadline for the career survey is approaching.
冬休みか。
All of us? I think it's 3 people who have mentioned something about back pain. And in my case, like I said, it was just from sitting too much, which would happen to anyone if they did that. So, particularly in my field, where I have to sit at a desk all day. The majority, yes, okay, we're all old, cranky people, right? Everything is crickety, everything hurts. It's happening, all right? I don't know what to say. She seemed to be deep in thought whenever we talked about the changing seasons. She was like an elderly. That's a good question, oddly manifested. I would think anyone experiences it sooner or later. But maybe Clinton is just a really young green chap and everything is properly oiled and functioning perfectly in his body, so he hasn't had the chance to experience the joys of back pain. I belong here, okay. Oh yeah, you did mention that, sorry, it slipped my mind. Shortly after that, our conversation stopped. Lately, we'd been having many moments of silence like this. Our meetings were lasting much longer, so we didn't have enough to talk about. There was simply nothing left to talk about. Actually, we had to talk many times about what she had forgotten. Her sense of stability had grown ever since the day she received her uniform for one reason or another, and yet, for some reason, I could only think about snow. That serenity and transience. How nothing remained. And nothing accumulated. As soon as they fell, the snowflakes would melt and disappear. It was like their images were being projected directly into my mind.
それじゃあ
We had arrived at the intersection. Oh, yeah.
また明日です。
See you tomorrow. I waved and saw her off. Her silhouette melted into the street. See you tomorrow. Abruptly. That remark leaked out like a dancing snowflake. Tomorrow, when I would meet yet another Chihiro. I see. It was astonishing to realize. That was right. Nothing was changing. Everything seemed like it was new. Learning her secrets, writing the novel, getting her uniform, sneaking into the library. But changing the situation hadn't made us any closer. Despite setting those objectives in order to shorten the distance between us, even though about a month had passed since I first met her, nothing in this world had changed. Oh, it went away. Okay, well, I'm glad you're not struggling with it constantly. That's a relief. Anyone recall an example of a story within a story not sucking? I love this one here. At the top of my head, I don't have anything else right now. Not even like just examples of stories within stories. But I don't get this general feeling of like disliking stories within stories. Well, I'm glad they went away, Clinton. I hope they don't come back soon, and if they do, I hope they're mild. Fingers crossed we... Like life, all stories must come to an end. I flipped through the diary of a girl whose memory disappeared in 13 hours. There were only a few pages remaining. At this point, there had been no particular changes. She was unable to ease her mind after I lodged myself into her life, and she continued to describe petty ups and downs. Though those might be called changes, they couldn't be called progress. I was still just an outsider gazing into her world. Or perhaps, as I had feared, she might have already gotten used to that change. Within her diary was a story of a sheep in a meadow tied to a post. A sheep that couldn't go anywhere. Oh, story within a story. Bakuman. They write manga, and so they discuss the stories that they write. So obviously there's stories within the story, and they're good. Like I really thoroughly enjoyed that very much. She yearned for the outside world. She yearned to journey towards the distant, unreachable horizon. That was probably why she was happy when someone occasionally stopped in her circle. However, she yearned for a person who would keep on walking, but I had already stopped being that person.
Ohayo!
Morning. Without so much as turning my head, I greeted Mom. She was stifling a yawn as she entered the living room.
良きかな良きかな。
I see. She watched me cook and muttered in delight. Waking up before her had become a habit because I was cooking for two. She got all excited whenever I made breakfast.
でもきちんと続いてるね。
Wheat, generally. Anything that's like bread, pastry. Yeah, exactly. Oh, alright. So Bakuman is not bad. Okay, I gave a not bad example. I'm proud of myself. The bento?
というか、千尋ちゃんと。
Well, for the time being. I didn't know what she was thinking, but I was tired of blindly denying everything.
ねえ、本当に付き合ってないの？
We aren't.
そう。
I turned off the burner and looked at her. What?
いや、なんだかレンジの反応も変わりないなーって。
Hey now. Her easygoing attitude made me sigh. I relit the burner and continued our light conversation. Hey, this is just a what if, but would you be happy if Chihiro became my girlfriend?
どうだろう。
She was unusually non-committal. I thought for sure she'd be cheering.
まだ千尋ちゃんのことそこまで知らないから。何かあるみたいだし。
Yeah, that could be it. It depends on a per person basis. There are people who even having a little is too much for them. It like triggers all sorts of things. I was listening to a podcast recently, and one of the people there were describing that they don't eat gluten because it affects them in a very negative way. However, recently they had started feeling symptoms like as if they were eating gluten, and the only thing that helped was stopping all of the vitamins and supplements that they were taking, and just by whittling them down and then taking a closer look at it, they realized that there's a sort of gelatin thing in the vitamin D that might contain gluten in some way, some traces of something, and that could be the thing that gives them those symptoms, which was mind-blowing. Like, whoa, even that, like, interesting. Yeah. You mean her eye?
それだけじゃないんだけどね。何かおかしな。レンジもそんな質問するしさ。
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's maybe just one possible incarnation of taking vitamin D, because I don't think all vitamin D necessarily comes in the little, you know, transparent kind of pills. I guess those are the ones that he was talking about. And also, like, generally, it's much better to produce the vitamin yourself than just get supplements. They cannot compare it to the real thing, but yeah, obviously, there's limitations there, particularly in the last couple years with not being able to go out as much. And at the same time, depending on where you live, there are periods in the year where you just can't produce vitamin D because there's not enough light and sun, so... Yeah, that's probably it. You need to remember everything and start cutting stuff out or reintroducing things and narrowing down exactly what it is that bothers you. I'd rather die than give up pasta. I know, right? Yeah, Clinton probably doesn't have that much trouble with getting vitamin D naturally.
自分で冷やかしたりしておいてなんだけど、そういうのを決めるのはレンジ自身の問題だから。
I couldn't say anything. I mechanically fumbled around with the frying pan and thought it over. Becoming lovers with Chihiro. In the end, is that what it came down to? She was cute, and we were growing closer. We talked a lot. I got her a uniform, and we were trying to write a novel together. There was no sense in lying to myself after coming this far. I wanted her. I do, but... That seemed like a fitting answer, but something wasn't right. I already confessed once before, but I couldn't imagine what becoming lovers with her would be like. Had anything changed? Like so, the story was steadily approaching its end.
女の子はやがてなんとか納得できる人間が描けるようになった。
I don't know if that would work, Clinton.
彼女は一人の男の子を描き出した。自身が女性という分類らしいので、その対である男性にしてみようと思ったからだ。ただ、背格好と背景との比率は自分と同じくらいにした。そこで気づいた。自分、女の子、男の子、背格好。なるほど。これが比較なんだと。人間をかけたはいいが、それがうまくいっているのか判別もできない少女は、あまり大きく人間を描く気にはなれなかった。
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But sometimes, even if you don't feel like it, just going out for a little walk can absolutely refresh and re-energize you. And you don't realize it until you actually do, and you're like, whoa, why have I been postponing this? Yeah, I feel you. I also go out with like things in mind, but at the same time, I kind of also try to find reasons to go out and be like, we're kind of missing this thing in the house. And I could also, if I go out, do this other thing. Maybe I should just do it now rather than wait for shopping day or something, right? So then I have one reason to just go out a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And especially if I do it in the morning, it's quite refreshing. And it gives me a completely different sensation when I come back and sit down and start working again than if I had just stayed inside the whole time. Yeah, I get you. I also wouldn't go out just loitering around. That's weird. So like I said, I try to find things to do that would give me the opportunity to go outside. Bluff mode is where it's at though. I see. Oh. Well, that's alright, but you should also try to find excuses for yourself and not necessarily for another person's sake. Romantic date shopping at Lidl? Ooh! Well then, I guess we go on a romantic date every Sunday. Doing grocery shopping. I do enjoy it though, it's fun. She painted a human. It was okay, but she didn't want to paint large figures. She couldn't tell whether they were well drawn. Alright, that's where we are.
だ
Let's
か
go.
ら今まで描いてきた風景画に男の子を描き加えていくことにした。すべての絵に男の子が描き加えられた。彼女はなんとなくそれらの絵を描いた風景と同じ場所に飾っていった。
Aw, that's cute. Oh, I would love to see pictures. I
屋敷
really
の中
enjoy
で絵にしていない場所はなかった。
getting a glimpse into what other people are seeing outside their window. It's cool. I mean, I say that in a metaphorical way. Not necessarily. I don't necessarily want to know exactly what is outside your window, right? Because that, it's private. It's where you live. But like, just generally, how the world looks like through other people's eyes is something that has always fascinated me. Definitely do not mean it in that way. Forgive me.
すべての絵の中で男の子はただまっすぐに立っていた。そしてまっすぐ前を向いていた。絵を見るたびに目線が合うことになった。やり遂げた考えは少女になかった。
Oh, I'm so sorry.
これは人間だろうか。考えてみる。これは人間の
Thank you,
絵だ。
thank you.
それも最初から分かっていたことだ。動かない。考えない。ただ、あるだけだ。寂しい。到達したことで、ようやく彼女は自問できた。寂しくなかった。
There used to be the window of my old room in my previous house outside my window. What? Most of Malta has transformed into buildings. I see. The story was steadily advancing to its conclusion.
どうでしょうか。
I mean, buildings are not necessarily that bad. I'm not expecting you to, like, live in a jungle or something. Obviously, I also live in a city, so there isn't that much nature around. Although the one that is kind of is really pretty in the spring. It's super bustling. All trees are in bloom. There's heavy with white, big, nice flowers. It's pretty. Ah, okay, they were back to back. Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah, of course. I raised my head. She asked timidly as I confirmed her progress for the day. It looks good. Doesn't this make it around 70% complete? I turned away from the monitor and nodded. Although I had the details of the book in my mind, it felt like my focus was elsewhere. I slapped my cheeks to try and get myself focused back on the novel.
多分ですけど、もうすぐなのでしょうか。
Have you decided on how you're going to do it? Supposedly.
どうしましょう。
Wait just a second. I opened up my memo pad. This was where I kept my own records of our exchanges. We had 3 major ideas for an ending. I counted using the fingers from my free hand, one by one. 1. The girl is finally captured in the paintings, and all that remains is a painting of the boy and girl living calmly together. The boy becomes real. We haven't decided exactly how this ending will go, but it's a happy ending. 3. The boy paints his own painting and a mirror world is opened. This one is still just an idea since we only brought it up once.
1番か2番なのでしょうか。
We talked about those quite a few times. I had a tally going. She'd picked number 1 9 times and number 2 3 times. Of course, I wasn't about to let her know that. Well, number 1 could either be a happy or sad ending.
そうなんですか？
She asked as if this was someone else's work. Although you could keep it written like a fantasy, you could also interpret it as her running away from reality.
壊れるのですね。
She was quick to criticize. It depends on how you look at it, but yes.
なるほど。
She replied and went deep into thought. I waited for about a minute before setting my pen on my memo pad. Is this what's on your mind this time around?
そうですね。壊れると思います。女の子は寂しさを覚えてはいけなかったんです。
Hey, Infinity End. Stream's going. All's good. No more technical issues tonight compared to last night. Things are alright. I'm a little bit tired, so I'm yawning a lot, but that's pretty much it. I hope the same. I hope everyone has it that way. Always. Yeah, sometimes it makes you think that the things you take for granted. But yeah. Okay. Nodding again with an indifferent murmur, I drew another tally by idea number 1. 10 tallies.
でも、こうやって終わりを決めて書くのは何か嫌ですね。
Really?
神様がいじってるみたいじゃないですか。特に小説は筋道がはっきりするので。
You're right. I slowly began to understand her way of thinking. The heart of what she wanted to write was an allusion to humanity. Her characters should arrive at their own answer, not one that God decided for them. Whether they were searching, changing, or making new discoveries. Of course, the human's decision might coincide with God's. The true significance was that the writer is a god. The readers could hypothesize, sympathize, or possibly be opposed. They could smile, cry, or get mad. Stories are written in a way that would change one's energy or outlook. That is a story's true nature. It is a writer's essence. However, the first reader is the writer.
創作における他者へのイメージ伝達、共感の概念、それに千尋の文章を書く目的が近いってわけさ。
That's how it was. Especially given Chihiro's own environment, she couldn't write an improper ending. However, we could look at it another way. Finishing the story would be beneficial. Both could be correct, and yet both could be incorrect.
どうしましたか？
My silence must have worried her. She had an anxious expression. Oh, nothing, I was just thinking, when I'm with you, it turns into a study.
勉強ですか？
I was thinking about what writing a novel was all about. It was embarrassing and I couldn't really put it into words. As usual, do tell me if something is on your mind. Yeah, I think we're kind of all on the same boat. Yeah, that's a nice suggestion.
はい。 ていてください。
She whispered kindly and casually. Was that gratitude in her voice? I thought it was unusual and stared at her. She was looking down at my memo pad, probably because she knew how I recorded her thoughts. Her usual smile was cute, but this dignified look was nice as well. I wanted to look on forever, but it was time to go. It's about time to head home. We would easily draw attention if we stayed until the last second, so we left before sunset.
やればできるものなのですね。
The novel?
はい。もう半分以上。自分でもびっくりしました。
Really?
毎日お話が長くなっていて面白いです。レンジ君のおかげです。
I didn't do anything. To be honest, I've been preventing myself from doing anything up until now.
そんなものでしょうか。
That's how it is. I mimicked her question and we looked at each other and laughed. At this time, there were few people in the school zone. The people who went home immediately after school were obviously gone, and the people in clubs or committees would be going home shortly.
レンジ君。
What?
いえ、何でもありません。
I replied curtly and kept walking on blankly, trudging along.
そういう反応も嫌いです。
What? This was certainly a new technique.
ありがとうございます。
Oh, yeah. I nodded upon receiving her heartfelt thanks. Was she satisfied? Her hair was hiding part of her face. I wanted to brush the sign and touch her cheek.
Huh?
Did she notice me looking at her? She stared back at me. Oh no, it's nothing. My foolish thoughts left me feeling odd, embarrassed, and a little depressed. I looked up at the sky. Seaweed it is! Oh god, no. Well, if anything, humans are incredibly adaptable beings, and if you are put in an extreme situation, you will adapt. I'm pretty sure you will. It's gonna be more than just a question of comfort, whether you feel comfortable doing it or not. It's gonna be a question, do you want to eat or die? And there are some survival mechanisms that are embedded within us that I'm pretty sure would kick in then and make you overcome whatever reserve you might have right now. Yeah, of course, I'm not saying you would find the solution immediately within yourself without any sort of help, but I'm just saying that, yeah. People would adapt in situations like those, I would say. The weather's nice. Oh my god, he's going back to talking about the weather, really? Nothing had even begun yet I had to laugh at my broken heart. Even up until this point, I was completely satisfied with the short distance between us not growing any closer. The sound of footsteps faded. She had suddenly stopped. What's wrong? The cold winter breeze incited me to keep going.
私にキスしたいですか?
Huh?
いいですよ。しても。
She stared at me blankly. What was she? No, she knew exactly what the meaning behind my staring was earlier.
別にこういうこと誰に言ってるわけでもないと思います。でも今までレンジ君みたいに親しくなった人なんていないし。
She looked the same as always, but her eye and voice were faintly trembling.
今までの私はずっとレンジ君と会っていて、それは信頼だと思うし、レンジ君は私のこと好きみたいだから、恋人としてキスしてもいいです。もう一月も経っていて、そういう場面だと思います。
Ah, the conundrum. Okay, what are you guys saying? No, it's okay, Infinity, and I'm pretty sure you didn't jinx anything. I don't think an apocalypse, in the sense that you're thinking about, will be coming anytime soon. There might be some harsh times ahead, but not to that degree, I would hope. Right, looks someone here has some skills. Ah. Oh, that's so funny. Sorry, I'm trying to laugh and at the same time I'm feeling like coughing at the same time. There it is. The cough is out. Ah. Right, so my mind went blank and I tried to understand what I just heard. A chill, sorry, ran down my spine. My hands shook. I suddenly felt angry. Angry at myself. I couldn't answer right away. That's not it. Everything would be fine if I could just say that. But for some reason, I hesitated. She would probably let me do whatever I wanted, whether she recorded it or not. No matter what I did, she would probably permit it. I didn't approve, but I still thought about it. Ooh. First choice. Ooh. Okay, let me save here. Yeah, but he is right. This is not the moment, and the correct decision is to not kiss her.
Renji-kun.
She looked concerned. Ah, that was when I realized. This was wrong. This was absolutely wrong. After all, her expression hadn't changed in the slightest. She didn't show even an inkling of happiness when she said we could become lovers. And she hadn't said one word about liking me. That's not it. I was finally able to say it. My voice sounded haphazard, like it wasn't mine.
ごめんなさい。私。
Bail, yeah, okay, I gotcha. Yes, that was the right choice. Permission to be friends granted. Oh, that's so cute. You guys are adorable. Her expression crumbled. Her body was trembling. As she held her arm, her gaze dropped to the ground. She looked so pitiful. I wanted to look away. It's fine. You're not at fault here. That was all I could say. The palms of my hands were soaked in sweat. Becoming lovers and kissing, she probably just read my mood. There was nothing wrong with that. What was wrong was... Let's split up here today. I was trying as hard as I could not to worry her. Yeah, but if you just, like, say no and leave without an explanation, she's not gonna understand, dude. You gotta articulate, okay? Because people are not, you know, mind readers. Aww. It's just wholesome. I love you guys. You're amazing.
ごめんなさい。
She replied with her nasally voice. I hadn't heard it in quite a while. I made her cry again. Even so, I wanted her to leave quickly. Now that I couldn't do anything. The sound of her footsteps faded into the distance as I stared down at my feet. Oh, Chihiro. Her silhouette halted. I wanted to say something important. Just this once. It might have been a mistake, but it was for her sake. You don't have to write what happened today in your diary. She didn't respond. She stood there for several seconds before running off. I mean, you understand why you made that choice, and we understand why you made that choice, but I'm not sure it was completely transparent to her. Like, she might have taken, like, the completely wrong conclusion from that. Oh, man, you guys are so precious. Unable to go home, I wandered the city. Suddenly, I realized that my legs would no longer move. The sun had set long ago, and I had no idea what time it was. My entire body was freezing, but that wasn't enough of a punishment for me. Then my cell phone rang. I shut it off because the ringtone annoyed me. Oof, maybe not a good choice, maybe it's his mom or something. There was a fever in my mind. I'd been thinking this whole time. It was the most I had ever thought about something in my whole life. That's right. My voice sounded unusual. I finally understood. I really understood. Kimura-san's warning. Coming into contact with Chihiro meant this would happen. I couldn't get too involved.
もう一月も経っていて、そういう場面だと思います。
Yeah, it just feels so forced, sweetie. It was that remark. That was what really struck me. It made me go absolutely mad. I knew what it was. It was the appropriate setting part. She had counted. It was just like that novel. It was like she was making an appearance in a novel she was reading. She was observing her relationship with me. 1 month, she had indifferently counted our meetings for the past month. It was like she killed time day by day, waiting for a specific date on the calendar. She was scared, truly scared. She probably thought that if it were a novel, it would be okay. It was a story that ended after a month. If I helped her finish her novel, she would mark the occasion by becoming lovers with me. We would kiss on the path home under the sunset, and that would cue the final curtain. But that's not how it works. My body felt numb from the cold, but it was still drenched in sweat. If this were a story, that would be the finale. But it wasn't. This was reality, and there was more to tell. I felt anxious while I was cooking this morning. What could happen once we became lovers? Was there more beyond that? I laughed scornfully at myself. In my mind, I had wanted to do even more than just kiss her. It occupied my thoughts. It defiled my mind over and over again. But that was something different. We weren't at that level. Could I introduce her to my mother as my girlfriend? Could I be with a girl who could only remember for 13 hours before her memory disappeared? Could I disregard her handicap that easily? My knees gave out. I was scared. So scared I thought I would cry. A sheep. I thought of a dying sheep starving in the middle of a pasture. And that's not a pleasant image. Oh, come on. Yeah, it was. Give me a second, sorry. Oh man, this cough is like kind of relentless. It was a melancholic awakening. I felt like I'd dreamt about the sheep. Perhaps I couldn't sleep and spent the night counting them. I felt sort of uncomfortable. I thought I was awake, but I felt lightheaded. Maybe I was actually half asleep. I couldn't think straight. My body could only jerk as I tried to get out of bed. Did I catch a cold? Oh, Clinton. It is a start indeed. It's alright. It's a delicate subject matter. It's not the happiest of stories. At the very least, it's in the past, and at the very least, I hope humans have learned from their mistakes. I held my pounding head as I attempted to walk to school. With no cough, headache, stuffy nose, stomachache, or any other symptoms to speak of, I must not have looked as bad as I felt. It was only vertigo. Knowing how bad my temperature was would just make me feel worse, so I stopped checking it. Worst case scenario, I'll sit through classes and meet Chihiro around lunchtime. Then I can explain the situation and go home early. I assured myself and pushed forward. I couldn't rest no matter what. Not today. If I unexpectedly didn't show up, Chihiro would get anxious. It would also be troubling if she thought I was dragging out what happened yesterday. No, I really was dragging it out, to a foolish extent. Even the novel was an excuse to be with her. Although I wanted to take the day off and rest, I absolutely couldn't. She had once waited for me so long that she caught a cold. This was probably retribution. This is tough. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. However, there was something I had to know. I had to confirm whether or not she wrote down what happened yesterday in her diary. I went to the library at the end of first period, but there was no sign of her. This was probably as usual. I see. I guess each country has their own curriculum for history. Since we are in Europe, we learn a lot about the history of Europe, so that's that. But I don't know. I don't know how it is in other places. Me. I mean, we do have the history of Romania. In 4th and 8th grade, we only study the history of Romania. But then in 5th, 6th, 7th, oh, actually in the 12th grade as well. Yeah, so each, we have our learning or study years split into 3, what would they be called? 3 phases, let's say, each of 4 years. So there's like 12 grades that you go through. And the 4th year, so 4th, 8th, and 12th obviously marks the end of that phase in your studies. And you move on to like a next level. Let's say you have some exams and so on. So in those exams, one of the subjects that you could take, if you want to, is the history of Romania. So in 4th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade, you learn only about the history of Romania. Obviously, at a more detailed level, the more you progress. But in the other years, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, you don't do history. But in 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, you learn the history about the whole world. But more focused on Europe than anything else, because I don't remember us learning that much about, like, I don't know, let's say Asia or the United States, or like they were mentioned, there were like stuff there, but it was mostly focused on Europe. All of it about Malta. All right. I'm just explaining how it is here, right? I don't know in other countries. If your country decided that all of the history is about Malta, then that's what you have. During the teacher's lecture, I just pretended to take notes. Everything went in one ear and out the other. My consciousness was hazy at best. I may have been awake, but the scribbles in my notes looked like wriggling earthworms. Chihiro still wasn't there at the end of 2nd period. I gave up and returned to the classroom. 3rd period. Thankfully, there was no gym class this morning. My mind was a little sharper now than it was this morning. However, the sweating wouldn't stop.
Renji-kun, どうしたんですか?
Oh, thank goodness. So, she came sometime between 3rd and 4th period. Nobody was in the library yet. I waved and greeted her. I'm not feeling too great, but I wanted to at least tell you I was going home early.
風邪ですか？
Yeah.
ダメですよ。風邪なのに学校なんかに来ては。
I really don't think the manifesting meant it that way. To me, it just sounds like she was just curious about it. Like, tell us something about it. That's true.
大丈夫ですか？いえ、大丈夫じゃないんでしょうけど。
She came up beside me and peered at my face. This gesture seemed really childish. I'm not alright, but the sight of your face makes me feel a little better. I grinned, but standing became painful now that I had peace of mind. I sat on the edge of a nearby desk. I was glad. She hadn't changed. She must not have written down what happened yesterday.
一人で帰れますか？それとも保健室へ行った方がいいのでしょうか？
Oh, yes. The learnings of last night. I'll rest for a bit, then go home. It was a strange feeling to see how nervous and worried she was for me. I didn't think she'd get so concerned over a cold. She didn't say anything and just stood near me. The relaxing atmosphere of the library made me zone out until the bell rang. We both looked at the speaker. I was still too weak to stand up, so I just took a breath and ignored it. The ringing stopped, and it fell as silent as a late night on a snowy day.
よろしければ、帰りは私が付き添いましょうか。
She held out her hand. That was all. That was all, and yet... She nearly touched my arm, so I backed away. We gazed at each other. It wasn't really a conscious decision, but I could see why I reacted that way.
レンジ君。
She looked like she was about to burst into tears. Sorry, I guess I'm a little out of it. As opposed to my previous perspiration from illness, her words made me break out in a cold sweat. I was scared. I was scared of being touched by Chihiro right now. It's alright. I can make it home by myself. I didn't want to worry her any further, so I smiled and stood up.
2日ほど私はここに来ないようにします。
That sounds familiar, in a certain sense. It was happening to Romania as well, but obviously in a different context. She was giving me time to rest. Got it.
それじゃあ、今度は3日後に。
Oh man, this must be really difficult for her. Yeah, I bowed quickly and waved goodbye. As I walked towards the exit, Chihiro.
Hi.
Thanks for worrying about me. And my throat was dry from the fever and my voice was raspy, but I tried to say this with as much encouragement as possible. You have to finish writing that novel. Don't give up. I was settled in bed quite nicely. There was practically no time left until the story was finished. However, time pushed forward. It relentlessly flowed on without giving way for anyone.
レンジ、
Ooh,
くたば
hello.
ってるか？
Ah, he says that with such a cheerful voice. Oh, that's cool. I never really learned anything specifically about Malta. Just like in geography, there is Malta, that's the capital. Learn it because I'm gonna be graded on it. That's it. That's all I knew. Someone I hadn't seen in a while showed up with a radiant voice. Kuze-san.
寝たままでいいよ。
He stopped me as I tried to get out of bed, so I simply sat up. Moving made my head throb in pain and my vision blurry. I felt awful. What is it today?
とどめを刺しに。
Finishing blow, what? You're not very frank, are you? Oldest historic temples. Oh, I had no idea. That's cool. My cold was something of a joke compared to my increasingly complicated relationship with Chihiro.
本当はお見舞い。お土産は今に置いておいたよ。
Thank you.
すみれさんはいないんだね。
His eyes wandered around the room. So she's the one you really came to see, huh? There was quite a commotion yesterday. I don't need to be nursed anymore though, so she went to work.
そっか。
Was he planning on leaving right away? He stood there without so much as taking a seat.
調子はどう？
Colds aren't so great.
それだけ喋れれば大丈夫だな。水でも持ってこようか。
Alright. That's good to know. No, I'm fine.
じゃあ、土産話を一つ披露しよう。昔、地中海の船上パーティーで演奏する機会があったんだけど、そこにしけが来ちゃって、船がタイタニックばりに揺れる揺れる。
I covered my mouth and groaned. Why are you telling me that kind of story? Seriously, was he here just to pester me? Oh, come to think of it.
何？
I keep forgetting to ask, what kind of relationship do you and Himura-san have?
腐れ縁だよ。
He asserted that carelessly. Were you in school together?
うん。音羽の元クラスメイト。実は腐れ縁といっても、俺がドイツに留学しちゃったから2年くらいの付き合いなんだけど。
Oh, I didn't think that was long enough to call them sadly inseparable at all. He grinned as though my question were natural.
時間で測れば短いけど、日村のやつはあの性格だからね。そもそも友達なんて俺しかいなかったんだよ。
Ooh, a cave with giant animal bones. Interesting. Trapping the dragons. Okay. Interesting.
「それに俺が留学した後もいろいろなことがあって、あ、隣の家も日村の紹介で借りてるんだ。
Lots of things happened. That was a peculiar place to pause his story. He was dodging something.
秘密。
He smiled, full of playfulness. Well, okay. I readily withdrew. Getting an answer out of him would be impossible. He had a surprising sense of honor, so I just assumed that it was something serious.
ところでさ、一つ千尋ちゃんのことですごいこと思いついたんだけど。
What is it?
千尋ちゃんって13時間で記憶が消える以上、体はともかく心はいつまでも処女のままなんだな。
Get out of here! I pointed at the door and shouted straight at him.
怒らない怒らない。悪かったよ。でもこれが流せないくらいは好きになっちまったわけか。
Ah, I suddenly felt ashamed. That was right. Of course, it was a joke.
気づかなかった。ごめん。
He apologized once more, this time accompanied by a bow. Seeing him sincerely apologizing to someone younger than himself made me uneasy. It's okay. What was I doing taking out my own incompetence on other people? Kuze-san, how would you grant someone's dream? I asked the question I figured I'd end up asking him one day. He smiled wide with just a slight shift in his gaze.
簡単だ。夢を叶えるにはまず夢そのものがないといけない。こうなりたい、ああしたい、あれが欲しい。夢でも欲望でも何でもいいんだけど、 あの子を口説きたいとかさ、金が欲しいでも地位が欲しいでも、いい悪いは抜きにしてそういうイメージだな。
Image.
そう、意志という言葉でもいい。俺はそれがこれだったわけだ。
He held out his arms like he was holding a violin.
何か演奏してやろうか？
He was like a mime, but the smooth movements of his fingertips were genuine. Right now would be thanks, but my head is killing me.
風邪が治ってからかな。
Yeah.
もったいないと思うけど。
What's wrong?
いや、なんだろう。
He grabbed his chest and made a mysterious expression.
持病の癪かな？
Stop doing that in front of a sick person. I subconsciously smirked.
千尋ちゃんとどんな小説を書いてるの？
He started smiling again and changed the topic. That novel is... Right. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I also thought about Chihiro. And about the last girl alive in the world.
女の子は絵を眺めていることが多くなった。
Interesting article, Beatrice. I shall have a look. Ooh, interesting. Well, good job, guys. Thank you, we appreciate it. Romanian history has had its own run-ins with the Ottomans. We know. That's pretty cool. It gives me a certain kind of feeling when I hear stories like those, especially about ordinary people that showed a certain amount of composure and bravery in a moment of crisis. And then I think about the world today and I'm sure there would definitely still be people like that, but they would be in the minority. Makes me kind of sad. Ah, I see. That's a cool detail.
彼はここと同じ風景に描かれているので不思議な気分になった。もしかしたら私の方が絵に描かれた存在なのかもしれないなと思った。そこで彼女は気づいた。こうなると認証が必要になるわけだ。二人なら二人称。つまり自分はこれから私になって絵の中の人間があなたになったのだ。私、あなた。
I really like this arrangement of the song. I don't know, it's giving me chills. I'm just focusing on it right now. Okay. Oof.
あなた。彼女はいつもそばに置いている辞書を手にした。気になった通り、あなたという呼称には夫という意味があった。夫は夫婦という関係における男性名詞だ。
Interesting roundabout translation here. But it works. It works.
では結婚してみようか。なんとなく考えた。そういう話は非常に多かった。大切なことだと本に書かれていた。それが人生。人が生きていく上での一つの通過点なのだと。 彼女は結婚という制度について詳しく学習することにした。結婚を調べていたある日、急にお腹が痛くなった。結婚には両者の合意がいるという要項が絵の中の男の子に適用されるのかと考えていた時だった。下着が血で汚れていた。保存食に不良品が混じっていたが、限界を迎えて腐ってしまったのだろうか。同じものばかり食べていたせいで味覚や嗅覚が壊れていたから判断がつかない。もしくは何か病気になったのかもしれない。医療関連の書物を調べた。死ぬ時は死ぬだけだと思っていたから、それも単に暇つぶしだった。いくつか該当しそうな疾病があったが、結局検査ができないので判断がつかなかった。
Oh man, it feels so bad when the translation is too long to fit in these two lines and I don't know what the word is here. Maybe she couldn't perform an examination or something?
何日かすると出血は収まった。倒れた時のためにベッドの脇に食べ物と水を用意していたが無駄になった。その後も特に異常は見られなかった。なんだろうと思いつつ、汚れた服を洗うのが手間だなということに考えが飛んだ。その事件を忘れた頃にまた血が出た。その前後数日、体がだるいとは思っていたが、なんだろう。それも数日で収まった。また次もあった。そこで、これが生理なのだと知った。大人になったということ。子供を産む準備ができたということらしい。なるほど。やはり自分は人間の女性であるようだ。
I can understand very, very little. Not very complicated things. But in that spot where I commented, I did not really catch what the word would have been. I was just trying to make an educated guess.
しかし、男性のいない世界でそんな準備ができたとしても意味がなかった。定期的に訪れる不必要な体調不良ということで納得するしかなかった。あくる日、結婚式をした。籍を入れずに結婚という契約だけを結ぶ例があると知ったからだ。合意は取れていないがいいかなと思った。城の中を漁ってドレスを見つけた。何のためにあったのかわからなかったが、都合は良かったので気にせず、その中から白いものを選んだ。指輪と神父は見つからなかった。屋敷の中には礼拝堂があって、そこの絵の男の子の服を描き直した。白いタキシードにした。祝詞を暗唱した。結婚を誓いますかという文字に、頭の中ではいと文字で答える。そして絵の中の男の子と唇を重ねた。油臭く。
I don't think it matters. She's at least a teenager since she's getting her period. It just age doesn't necessarily matter in a world where there's nothing else. Like literally nothing else.
適当に摘んできた花束をブーケというものにして投げた。それで結婚式は終わった。
Like she's reproducing things that she's read in books. There's no concept of like, is this appropriate for my age? I don't think that that's a thing, and I quite enjoy the story because it's such an unusual setting, and yet I feel like it brings forth quite a bunch of questions to ponder in your own mind, and just simply make you think, which is the thing that I love the most about stories, that they make you think about things you wouldn't normally have thought about, and it kind of like expands your horizons in a way through that kind of mental exercise.
少女はドレスを着たまま、いつもよりも食事を多く用意した。一応のパーティーだった。ドレスは腰回りがきつくて食べ残してしまった。そして床に落としたままの花束を拾って、ドレスや残飯と一緒にゴミ捨て場にしている崖から放り出して。
That's a good point, I guess. But if he's just a painting, does he have, consent to give? It does feel weird. But I mean, the story is meant to be
そこ
weird.
で小説を書いていた手を止めた。
It's meant to, like, make you take a step back and be like, wait, what is this? Is this alright? What is happening here?
立ち上げていたメールソフトが着信を知らせていたことに気づく。お姉ちゃんからのメールだ。
Man, Windows XP, the memories.
雨宮。そのメールには雨宮優子という人の悪口が並べられていた。
A lineup of insults.
教会にいたり、街をうろついていたり、まるで日村さんのような人だ。ただ、悪口を書いているが嫌いじゃないのだろう。照れ隠しのような冗談が込められていて面白かった。つい今の自分のことを忘れて口元が緩んでしまう。そして雨宮さんとは別に堤京介という男の人の名前がよく目についた。誰だろう。私はメールのやり取りや今の状況をまとめたテキストファイルを開いた。堤京介さん。お姉ちゃんをモデルにして映画を撮っている先輩の方らしい。この人のことも嫌いじゃないみたいだけど、どこか姉には珍しい歯切れの悪い書き方しかされていなかった。さらに日付を遡ると、ヒロお兄さんに恋人ができたことや、膝を壊してバスケットボールができなくなって苦しんでいるお姉ちゃんの姿にぶつかった。そんな姉からどうしたらいいのかという問いかけのメールが届いていて、私はすでに返事も出していた。レンジ君や小説のことでいっぱいになっていて、そんなことも忘れてしまっていたのか。私はどれだけ弱くなってしまったのだろう。いや、最初から強かったわけじゃない。ただ元に戻ろうとしているだけなのかもしれない。自分自身に素直になってもいいと思うよ。姉へ向けた言葉はまるで今の私に当てているようなものだった。日付を追って互いのメールを読み進めていくと、私の言葉がきっかけとなるようにお姉ちゃんは強さを取り戻していく。これは私だけじゃない。私は目を閉じて自分の言葉を反芻する。姉へのメッセージに込められた温かさには覚えがあった。レンジ君のかけらがここにも。順を追って読み進めていた姉のメールはやがて結末へとたどり着いていた。
千尋、この前のメールありがとう。信じてるって言葉本当に嬉しかった。 まあ他にも痛いこととかちょっと腹の立つことも書いてあったけど、でもそれだけ真剣に私のことを考えてくれたってことだし、気合も入ったわ。それに私を信じていてくれた人は千尋だけじゃなかった。京介先輩は言うまでもないし、かっこいい私が好きって水木にも言われた。お兄ちゃんも私が元気な顔を見せるだけで嬉しいって。千尋だけじゃなくていろんな人に支えられてるんだって最近気づいたの。恋敵だったはずの宮子さんにまでテスト勉強を見てもらってたくらいだしね。雨宮優子もその一人。正直悔しいけど雨宮優子の言葉が一番効いたわね。思い出を言い訳にしてたらまた同じことを、大切な人と離れる寂しさを覚えることになるって。そういえば不思議ね。ずっと一緒だった千尋と同じことをあんな出会ったばかりの人に言われるなんて。まあいいわ。私はもう千尋やお兄ちゃんを失った時みたいに後悔したくない。だからもう逃げるのはおしまい。次に千尋に会う時は胸を張っていられるようにかっこいい私に戻るから。だからそっちも大変だろうけど一緒に頑張ろうね。
読み終わってから少しの間、私の頭には何の考えも浮かばなかった。いろいろな思いが渦を巻いていて、そのスピードが速すぎて逆に止まったように。返事書かなきゃ。私はその後の言葉が続かない。自分が何を言葉にしようとしていたのかもわからず、キーボードに乗せた指が動かない。いや、もう姉に告げる言葉など残っていないのだ。お姉ちゃんは強い人だから何の心配もいらない。前よりももっともっとかっこいいお姉ちゃんになってくれるはずだ。だから必要なのは私の答えだ。だから遠くから聞こえる鐘の音。時計を見ると正午だった。ご飯食べなきゃ。まるでそれを言い訳にするように私は席を立つ。姉への返事を今は出すことができそうになかったから。私はトースターでパンを焼いてジャムを塗り、コーヒーを入れて部屋に戻ってくる。味気ない食事はすぐに終わってしまい、私は手帳に昼食の内容と1点という数字を書き加えた。ため息しか出ない。レンジ君のお弁当は9点より下には落ちたことがないのに。そんな思いとジャムの後味をコーヒーで飲み込みながら、私はこれまで自分が書いてきたという物語に目を通す。もうこんなところまで来てるんだ。もうすぐ終わる。あとは絵の中の男の子が動き出すシーンと結末だけだろう。4年
Oh, sorry.
4年間自分一人ではどうしようもなかったことが1ヶ月も経たずになされようとしていた。複雑だな。素直には笑えなかったので、ちょっとだけ目を細める。考えつつ頭から書くことに比べれば、書き途中のものを読んで流れを理解し、続きを書く方がたやすい。もう自分一人でもなんとかなりそうだった。 レンジ君と昨日の私が約束したのが2日間。終わるかな。なんとなく。次に彼と会う時には完成したものを見てほしかった。一人でできたよって自慢してみたかった。なんて言うのだろう、彼は。わからない。性格や仕草は手帳にあるが、そこから感情までは読み取れない。だけど、きっと褒めてくれる。優しいから。だから。私は最後まで書くのが怖かった。これが終わったら彼をつなぎ止めるものは消えてしまう。ねえ、おいで。私は小説の女の子に声をかけた。早くここまでおいで。神様みたいに呼んだ。寂しさはここにあるよ。
Okay, that gave me the chills. That last part. Okay. I groaned, tucked into the warm futon. Hibernating someday might be nice. Like a child, I held my pillow over my face and screamed. Ah, I can't sleep. I jumped up. I had taken this 2-day vacation for granted, but I was already better. My leisure meter was reaching its limit. Yesterday I forced down nutritious food, took medicine, and slept for a really long time. Likely thanks to that, there was nothing at all wrong with me anymore. Chihiro and her story had been on my mind this whole time. All I could think about was what Chihiro was up to. I couldn't stand being cooped up any longer.
あれ？もういいの？
Mom gave me a comfortable smile as I walked into the living room. The other day she had attentively nursed me, but soon returned to her normal schedule. In other words, she was a super mom who could run a marathon without breaking a sweat. Actually, was that even possible? She pushes the limit. I sighed at my foolish thoughts as I prepared some coffee and sat on the sofa.
千尋ちゃんのことで何かあったの？
You're direct. I put on my feet and reluctantly gave in. There seems to be various things going on.
そう？
What?
態度が急に男の子っぽくなったなーって。母親としては寂しいけどね。
Oh, I see. I had no idea how serious she was being. I couldn't really talk about it, so I changed the subject. Hey, come to think of it, how was it with you and Dad?
何が？
Like how you met, or when you decided to get married, or anything else. I hadn't had any interest in how their relationship began until now, but I wanted to ask for a reference. How did a cooking teacher and a German architect manage to get together? Her laugh gave me a bad feeling, but she'd cry if I stopped her now. It'd be best to stay quiet.
あの人とはね、私が通訳の仕事でドイツに行った時に、その仕事先の建設現場で出会ったの。
What? You were an interpreter?
元通訳。
How long ago was this?
お母さんの若い頃。うん。まだ若いから、すごく若かった頃ね。レンジが生まれる前だから逆算して。あれ？まだお母さんも生まれてない頃？
This is the first time I've ever heard of it. Joking aside, I was dumbfounded. Mom could certainly speak other languages, but I thought she picked them up while she was being dragged around by Dad. I had no idea she was an interpreter. So, why are you a cooking teacher, or should I say housewife?
それがいろいろあってさ。
Did I just add fuel to the fire? It was like I had just flipped some switch.
実はお母さんの一目惚れでね、日本に帰る日が近づいてきた頃、勇気を振り絞ってお父さんをデートに誘ったの。それで一日付き合ってみたんだけど、最初の挨拶以外は全然喋ってくれなくてね。
Well, Apparently, he was never aware that his mom was an interpreter before.
美術館行ってもお城を見に行っても喫茶店でもレストランでも無口で
No talking. What the hell? Yeah, I've been alright. I'm managing. Looking forward to a long weekend this week. It's Easter for us, and so I will be going to see my parents and relax and unwind for 4 days in a row without work. Yes, please give it to me. Yeah. And I'm streaming tonight because tomorrow night I need to pack. Usually, stream would have been tomorrow.
最後のバーでいい加減頭にきてお酒に酔ってたのもあったからだけど何か言いなさいって怒鳴ったら
Oh my god. Hope things have been good with you as well. Yeah?
口下手なんだって断ってから急に建築の話を始めちゃったのよ
Huh?
いくら通訳だからって建築用語全開じゃ何を言われてるのかさっぱりだったんだけどそれを喋ってるお父さんがかっこよくてねうんって聞いてたらいきなり自分もあなたが好きになったって言われて
It may have been half flowing through my blood as well, but I didn't understand the senses of a foreigner. Wow, I only asked just for reference, but I got a lot more than I bargained for. Maybe I shouldn't have asked how their relationship started in the first place. I get it. Well then, what about any big problems and such?
それはいろいろとね国際結婚だったし
Her tone changed, maybe because she was reflecting upon the past?
仕事の関係で1年とか2年会えないこともあったしたまに会っても冗談じゃなくお父さん口下手だから本当にすれ違ってばっかりで
And you still got married?
結婚してなかったらあなたはいないけど
Well, that was obvious.
でも幸せよ
Why?
お父さんが好きだからそれにレンジを産んだんだものお母さんが仕事を辞めてもいいくらい愛してるわ参ったねこりゃそんな感じでした
She blushed and stuck out her tongue, then hastily withdrew to her room. I see. I couldn't do much more than mother. That was probably an exemplary answer. A given. That sort of simple happiness. But, for example, what if I had a child with Chihiro? She wouldn't even remember. I ended up aimlessly wandering around the city for a while, then wound up in front of the church.
レンジもう風邪はいいのか
You sure know everything, don't you?
この町で起こってることなら大体な
Are you free?
これでも一応は仕事だ
Working?
ああ説明するのが面倒なんだが駒使いっていうか宮使いみたいなもんだよ
What did he mean? Like a maid, or rather a butler? Well, it didn't really matter. I have something I want to talk about.
うんやっぱり悩みを抱えてるやつはスーパーとかゲーセンには行かないんだな
He scratched his head and grumbled, then straightened himself up.
千尋のことだな
It wasn't so much a question as a confirmation. I nodded. Chihiro Shindo. I'm scared of her. What a joke of a concern. Even so, he scowled at me, serious as ever.
理解しちまったわけか深入りするなとあれほど両方に言ってたんだけどないいさ聞いてやる懺悔ってのはそういうもんだ
Oh, I don't remember that detail, to be honest. That has kind of been lost with time. So I told him everything. I told him about all our exchanges up to this point. As much as I could remember of her story, what I thought, everything. As I spoke, I sensed one thing. Kimura-san, maybe Chihiro doesn't want it to end.
だろうな。
He agreed far too quickly. I had realized it before, but it was still shocking.
だから家族からも引き離したんだが、人がいる限りどこも変わらないか。
Ah, the concerns. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they changed some stuff up, so I suppose that's one of the artistic liberties they took, I guess, in the anime. It was exactly like the girl in her story. Was she determined to become the only one in her world?
安心しろ。お前が怖いって思うのは正常だ。それが普通だ。だから俺もクゼも千尋に必要以上に近づかないようにしていただけだ。
Even if it's cruel.
なんで寂しいって感じるかわかるか？
He responded to my question with another question. He really looked like a priest right now.
その千尋が書いてる話の中で、どうして女の子は寂しいという感情を覚えるかわかるか？
Because she doesn't want to be alone.
それは結果に過ぎない。もっと根源だ。
Why was she lonely? More fundamental. Because it was fun.
そうだ。寂しさを知るには楽しさを知らなきゃいけない。幸せを感じるには不幸せを。世界ってやつは笑えるくらい悲惨にも表裏一体なんだよ。
There's nothing you can do about that, is there? I stared at my feet. That was all I could spit out. A tarnished echo, unbefitting of a church, reached my ears.
それが言えて満足だったか？
His voice was suddenly gentle, and I lifted my head.
誰かに言えて少しは楽になっただろう。
He wasn't smiling. He turned away while the atmosphere returned to normal.
お前がよくやったとは言わない。だけど責めたりもしない。それが神父とかカウンセラーの仕事だ。
Why didn't you tell me to stay away from her instead? That was the one last thing I had to ask. He should have been more serious. He should have told me that from the very beginning. It was a shameful outburst, but I said it anyway.
見てみたかったのかもな。
See what?
俺と同じようなやつがうまくいくかもしれないって夢を。
Like you? I repeated it as though in delirium. He and I were the same? That's...
あるんだよ。はっきり言って比べ物にならないくらい俺の方がひどい話さ。
His voice was light, but his words had a deep meaning to them. They were heavy and piled onto me.
レンジ、
He said my name in a gentle, distant, lonely voice.
多分俺はお前が知りたいことの答えを知ってる。千尋がどうするべきかも知っているんだ。でもそれが正しいか間違っているかはわからない。答えはただ答えでしかないんだ。それを理解しないといけない。
What he said was an adult's view. I could have taken it as a joke or deception, and yet that was all I could make of it.
優しいんだよ。
I was not. I denied my dream. She was hopelessly mistaken. This was reality.
答えを知りたいか？
No. I shook my head and bowed. Thank you very much. I turned around and headed for the exit.
千尋が書いている物語と真剣に向き合え。
He called out from behind me. I stopped without turning around.
なんであいつがそんな話を書いているのか。どうしてそんな物語になってしまったのか。それを考えろ。お前も一緒に書いてるんだ。千尋よりも先に結末にたどり着け。
女の子は結婚式の翌日から自画像を描く練習を始めた。
Oh, all right. Nice. I hope you enjoy it. It's kind of like a silly little thing. Don't take the whole physics of living underwater too seriously, but I feel like it has really cool story beats and character development, and there is something to be said about life and love and human relationships in there. It's very, very precious to me. So yeah, glad that you enjoy it. Also, yeah, Shinsekai Yori is one of my favorites as well. So, but it's interesting. I never would have made a correlation with it, but I guess I see where it's coming from because of like the group of friends, the group of children. Right. So after their wonderful conversation, I see that we're going back to the story, but we will continue this next time. There we go. Because for tonight it is already too late, and my throat is kind of giving up on me. I mean, oh damn, it's very dry, and I'm doing my best to calm it down, but it's not really going there. So better to just go rest for tonight. Thank you so much for being with me, guys. I have started reading it. There was a fan translation going on at some point. I just never really finished it. Reading translation. I still have the PDF in my Kindle. I gotta get back to it. Oh, thank you. I tried. I was late because of it, but yeah, I tried. And the eyeliner is blue. It's dark blue. I thought it would match the shirt nicely. So, yeah, there we are. Oh, sorry. I just saw it on screen. I don't know if Beatrice meant it for you or for me or in general. I just answered the question. Yes, I did. I did quite enjoy the written part of it. There were a lot of details there that weren't in the anime, and I like that. I like that very much. I should get around to finishing it. Yes, yes. Promise, promise, promise. I think it was also because that place where I was getting the translation, they were kind of like releasing them in batches. So at some point it wasn't complete, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just stop here and wait until it's complete. And then it was complete, but then like life just took over and I didn't finish it. I do have the PDF though. It's good. Thank you. Thank you. It was actually a gift from a friend who thought I would like it very much, and I do, yeah, indeed like it very much. So yeah. Oh, my bad. Hit the mic. Great. So one thing to do, because if I don't do it now, I'm gonna forget. That is to adjust the schedule for next week, which is going to be just simply our regular schedule. Nothing too fancy. You don't have to say anything, Clinton. It's fine. All is good and all is well, except the extension in Twitch that's not loading. Why? It's empty. I can't change the schedule. What? I'll try reloading the page. Technology. Sometimes it works against us. There it is. Okay. Tuesday and Thursday, regular time. Boom. There we are. Oh, Clinton, you're so funny. Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. Right. So thanks so much for the company and for the lovely chats as per usual, guys. Yes. Stellar job. Good job. Right. I wish you all a nice weekend. If there's anyone listening who's celebrating Easter this weekend, happy Easter. And I will see you next Tuesday and we'll continue the story. Can't wait. Can't wait. We're getting close to the climax of it. And the ending and so on, and then we're gonna move on to Yuko's story. No, we're not. Yuko's is way at the end. Oh man, I can't wait. Right. So for now, good night, or good rest of your day wherever you are in the world. Take care, eat good food, hydrate, and I will see you again next Tuesday. Bye bye.